crash, bang. We see collisions all the time, right? But have you ever wondered what's really going on in that split second of impact? Well, today, we're going to dive right into the physics of collisions, and you get to be the lead investigator, uncovering the secrets of energy. So before we get into any big science words, let's just start by using our eyes and our brains. Take a good look at these marbles. What do you notice? Maybe you see one marble just slamming into a group of others and sending them flying. What does that make you wonder? Maybe you're asking, hey, why'd that one go so much farther than the others? There are no wrong answers here, you know? Just noticing and wondering. That's exactly how all great science begins. That's right. In this explainer, you are calling the shots. You're the lead scientist. We're going to ask some big questions, run a few virtual experiments, and then you and we're going to draw our own conclusions based on what we see. So, you ready? Let's do this. Okay, team, before we start smashing things together, virtually, of course, we need to make sure we're all speaking the same language. Let's get a few key vocabulary words down. Think of them as the rules of the crash. It'll help us describe exactly what we're seeing. First up is the main event, a collision. It's super simple. It's just that moment when two or more things bump into each other. That's it. Now, what's the fuel that makes a collision happen? Well, it's something called kinetic energy. The easiest way to think about it is just moving energy. Any object that's moving has it, whether it's a tiny marble or a giant truck. And the faster it's moving, the more kinetic energy it's packing. And here it is. This is probably the most important idea for our entire investigation today. When things collide, that kinetic energy, it doesn't just disappear. It has to go somewhere. And the movement of that moving energy from one object to another, that's what we call energy transfer. This is the big secret we're going to unlock. All right, we've got our vocabulary ready. It's time for our first investigation. We're going to figure out how an object's mass, how heavy it is, changes the energy transfer in a collision. And to get us thinking, let's frame our question like this. In bowling, you use a big, heavy ball, right? Why not a ping pong ball? I mean, you could try, but we all know what would happen. But why? What's the actual physics behind that? That's exactly what we're about to figure out. So here's our virtual setup. We've got a ramp, a cup at the bottom, and 3 different balls. Now, as scientists, we have to make sure our test is fair, and that's why step 3 is so important. We have to release every single ball from the exact same height. Why? Because that means they'll all be going the same speed when they hit the cup. The only thing we're changing on purpose, our variable, is the mass of the ball. And let's look at our results. Whoa, the light ping pong ball, it barely nudges the cup. The marble, which has a medium mass, gives it a pretty good push. But the heavy tennis ball, it sends that cup sliding way down the line. The pattern here is super, super clear. So, what did we learn? Well, our first big conclusion is that more mass means more energy gets transferred. The heavier tennis ball had way more kinetic energy to give to the cup, so it pushed it a whole lot farther. We just used evidence to solve our own bowling ball mystery. Fantastic work. We've figured out mass. Now let's hit reset on our experiment and look at our second variable, speed. How does the speed of an object change what happens in a collision? Okay, scientists, new puzzle for you. We just saw what changing the mass does. Now, let's use the same object, just the marble. How can we use our ramp to change the marble's speed? If you're thinking we need to change the height of the ramp, you are absolutely on the right track. And would you look at that? The results are crystal clear. When we let the marble go from the low ramp, it's moving pretty slow, and it just gives the cup a little nudge. But when we release that same exact marble from the higher ramp, it picks up way more speed and has way more kinetic energy. Wow, the cup goes flying. The amount of energy transferred is so much greater. So, we've seen the results. Now let's put on our official scientist hats and use this really powerful tool called the CER framework. It just stands for claim, evidence, and reasoning. It's a great way to organize our thoughts. First up is our claim. This is just our main conclusion, stated nice and simply. Based on what we just saw, we can claim that making an object go faster increases the kinetic energy it transfers when it hits something. Okay, next is our evidence. How do we prove our claim is true? Well, we just point right to what we saw. We observed that the marble from the high ramp, the fast one, pushed the cup way, way farther than the marble from the low ramp. That's our proof, right there. And finally, the reasoning. This is the why. This is where we connect what happened to why it happened, using our new science words. The reason the faster marble pushed the cup farther is because an object's speed is directly tied to its kinetic energy. More speed means more kinetic energy, and more kinetic energy means a bigger, more powerful energy transfer. See, it all connects. You guys are doing amazing work. We figured out that both mass and speed are super important for energy transfer. But this leads to a really fascinating question. We keep saying energy is transferred, but where does it actually go? Does it just, vanish? One of the most important rules in the entire universe is that energy can't be created and it can't be destroyed. It's what scientists call conserved. So if the kinetic energy leaves our marble when it hits the cup, it has to show up somewhere else. The big question is, where? And here's the really cool part. The energy transforms. It literally changes from one form into others. So in our experiment, the moving energy of the marble turned into the moving energy of the sliding cup. Some of it also turned into sound energy, that little click you hear. And in a really big crash, like with cars, a lot of it even turns into heat energy. The energy is never lost, it just changes its disguise. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground today, from kinetic energy all the way to energy conservation. Now it's time to pause, take a breath, and really think about what we've learned together. This is how we make sure that new knowledge sticks. I want you to think back to the very beginning of this explainer. What was your idea about collisions back then? Maybe you just thought things, they crash and they stop. But now you know better. Now you think about how energy is actually moving from one thing to another, making things move, making sounds. Seeing how your own thinking has changed, that's a huge part of learning. And now for your final challenge as lead investigator. Can you take this huge, important idea, energy transfer, and explain it to someone younger? Could you explain it to a second grader using simple words like push and give and move? Because, the real test of understanding something is being able to teach it. And after today, I know you can do it. You've totally got this.